So something to know about me is I'm a big scaredy cat, and I'll be the first one to admit it. Like I'm the type of person who walks through a haunted house with their eyes closed. So of course, I avoid most types of media in the horror genre. Even so, I still do enjoy horror and I like to engage with it, safe from jump scares. Because at the end of the day, that's the thing that actually scares me, is jump scares. Like I could probably watch a movie or play a game if I knew that there would be no jump scares. That was a guaranteed. So I really appreciate it when a horror medium can make people scared by not relying on cheap jump scares, but by building suspense and tension through the atmosphere. My goal is to try and get out of my comfort zone and play more games in the horror genre. Games like Resident Evil and Silent Hill has always appealed to me, and I've watched countless gameplays, walkthroughs, uh, video analysis, stuff like that. But now, I want to experience these games from the driver's seat, starting with Resident Evil 4 Remake. I picked this game first since I know it focuses a lot more on action and combat, so it'll be a good starting point. But this game is actually pretty scary when it wants to be. But I think I'm gonna make a whole separate video talking about the actual horror in this game because I think it's actually underrated. But let's see how Resident Evil 4 holds up to a newcomer to the series. The first topic I want to discuss with this game is the gameplay. Like I said, RE4 focuses a lot on action and combat rather than the slow suspense of typical horror games. And just to be clear, I'm going to say RE4 throughout this video, but I am talking about the remake. RE4 uses an unconventional control scheme, at least for me personally. It took me like 1 to 2 hours to fully accustom to it, so it looks like I never touched a controller in my dang life when I was playing the first few hours of the game. However, I think that actually helps build tension early in the game because of the barn section in the first chapter. This section sends a whole bunch of enemies at you and doesn't care that you haven't fully grasped the mechanics of the game. This moment is such a clever way of telling the player what's going to be in store for the rest of the game. Now I'm going to be glazing over this game a lot, and something that I can't stop meat writing is this game's level design. RE4 has some of the most clever and unique level designs that I've seen in the game. I have a full list of some examples, but I'll just mention some of my favorites. This one was relatively simple, but super effective. In the first house you explore in the game where you kill the first zombie in the basement, you are tasked with escaping from the house. At this point, I'm sure you can tell by my gameplay that I'm already shitting my pants here. My first thought was to just run and escape through the door that I came in by. But as I ran, I alerted the enemies where I'm at, and the door was locked. Now I'm trapped by these two enemies, and I ended up taking damage and running out of ammo. Like I said, it was a simple thing to do, but show me how sneaky this game can actually be. Another moment early in the game is when you're exploring the chief's manor to find the insignia key. When you enter through the back door, an enemy is hiding in the bathroom. After I kill him, he doesn't start to turn to a zombie. And at this point in the game, there would have shown that enemies are going to turn, they'll start as soon as they die. However, after solving the puzzle in the kitchen, which took me about 5 minutes in real time to do, when I start to go upstairs, the same enemy, now a zombie, rushes toward me. And this moment actually made me jump because the game lured me into a false sense of security, and I paid the price for it. Like I said, there's so many great crafty moments like this that I could spend a whole video just talking about it. The combat and gunfights in RE4 are smooth like butter. I feel good laying shots in the head and then going in for a roundhouse kick. For me personally, it's a little difficult laying headshots 100% of the time, but I think that's the point and just aids in the gameplay. I'm sure if you play this game a lot, you could probably lay in headshots easy, nothing. But a lot of enemies flash step shots, which is really annoying, but in a fun way. There's also a lot of weapons available through the course of the game, whether from finding some or just buying them from the shop. I like the variety of options, and in my playthrough, I didn't even get to use all the weapons. That was mainly because I focused on upgrading the weapons I had to the most power in my shots. But since there's so many weapons, it would make future playthroughs fun to play with and mess around with different setups and different guns and things like that. Something I noticed during my playthrough was that I wasn't really engaging with the parry mechanic or even using the rifle at all. Mainly I was using the SMG a lot due to how most of the enemies in the village were chasing you down. So the close quarter weapons were my go-to. But as I progressed into the castle section and then the island, you're pretty much forced to change your style a bit to adjust to the changes in the enemies. After leaving the village, the game introduces more ranged enemies that are actually a threat if left unchecked. Now I was forced to adapt and use the rifle more and parry all the ranged attacks when I could. And since I was pairing a lot more ranged attacks, I found myself pairing a lot more close attacks in general. By the end of the game, the rifle actually became my most used weapon and one of my favorites. I love when games make you change to adjust for whatever changes they throw at you. It's testament to how well crafted the gameplay is as a whole. Resident Evil 4 isn't just intense gunfights and epic boss fights though. A big chunk of the gameplay loop centers on exploring the map to find all the treasures you can. I actually got addicted to collecting as much treasure as possible. Like, I was literally opening my map every 2 seconds to making sure there is no treasure I missed. The treasure, of course, allows you to sell them to the merchant for large sums of money, which can be used to buy items and upgrade your weapons. It's also encouraged to hold on to your gems until you can engrave them into a statue to drastically increase the value. And the feeling of cashing in all your treasure to the merchant and seeing all the dough you gained is one of the most satisfying things I've experienced in the game. Scattered throughout the map are merchant requests, which you can complete to get spinels, which pretty much is used to trade for other items that the merchant is selling. I actually really enjoy the requests a lot. These can vary from shooting blue medallions all over the map, or my favorite ones were backtracking to a certain area to like kill like a mini boss of sorts. And they're actually kind of challenging. I died a couple times to the night one in the castle. That section was actually kind of hard for me. I died like 3 times, I think. I just wish there were more requests. Maybe not more per se, but more well crafted ones rather than just the medallions and the killing rats. Maybe replace those with more well crafted ones, I guess. But overall, like, I really enjoyed the requests in the game that we do have, and one of my favorite parts of it actually. Back to talking about the treasure. To actually collect all the treasure available, there are moments when backtracking is needed. I expected these to be like quick, easy pickups to do, mostly because I already cleared the places out, but that was honestly like really naive of me to assume. The enemies have respawned in these areas, but the game actually put stronger enemies back in the sections you already cleared earlier. For example, during the castle section, I needed to backtrack into the audience hall to open this locked drawer. I figured there'd be more enemies, but they actually added the red cloak enemy, I don't know his name, and made this section like a mini boss fight. There's a handful of moments like this, but I really appreciate the attention to detail to make something like backtracking fun and still surprising to the player. I do have a gripe with RE4 in terms of backtracking. That's why I feel like it was unfair at some points that I couldn't backtrack. Once we first rescued Ashley in the church, I thought I'd be able to backtrack all the way to the beginning section to get some treasure that I missed. At this point, I just bought the treasure map, so I saw that I had missed treasure, but I figured I'd just make the journey back and collect them. But the game doesn't let you backtrack all the way, which was super frustrating, especially because I didn't have the treasure map during the chances I was supposed to collect them. I just don't see the point in restricting backtracking for that specific moment. I get there needs to be certain checkpoints where the game can't just let you go all the way back, but I feel like that time just wasn't justified. And I'm pretty sure the merchant did say something like, if you go past that gate, you won't be able to come back. But like, this is my first time playing. I don't think I caught on to that, so it is kind of on me at the same time. But it was still just frustrating to me. I almost forgot to mention, but in a few merchant zones, there's an elevator you can take which brings you to the shooting gallery. This is where you just play shooting minigames with all the weapons you can have up to that point. And the rewards are tokens, which you can use to gamble on perks to attach to your case. The reason I almost forgot to mention it is because I didn't really care about the shooting range too much. When I first came across in the village, I messed around with it a good amount. But when I was in the castle, I only played through the rounds one time per new gun that was added. And then on an island, I didn't bother with it at all. I'm not mad that it's in the game. I think it's decent fun, but I just personally couldn't bring myself to get invested with it further into the game. Another critique that I have with the game is that while I appreciate the difficulty in this game, for reference, I played on standard and died 19 times in total. I thought a good amount of the game was challenging, and it might just because I'm not that good, but I feel like some enemies cross the line between challenging to just annoying. Like I said earlier, the later portions of the game introduce more ranged enemies, but oh my god, these crossbow bitches were so annoying. And honestly, these feelings are probably because I'm trash, like I'll admit, but the flying freaking bugs, I don't care, bro. I feel like everyone has to hate these enemies. These enemies were so annoying. Honestly, just remove those enemies from the game, and I'll deal with any other enemy type. I'd rather take 5 chainsaw enemies and deal with these annoying odd critters. But now, let's go into the RE4 narrative. I think Resident Evil 4 has a pretty simple narrative overall. We play as Leon, whose mission is to rescue the president's daughter, Ashley. The plot is simple, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. The simple plot allows for the game to shine in its gameplay, as I already praised. and a simple plot also allows for the characters to get the spotlight. Starting with Leon, I mean, he's the perfect lead for this type of game. He's charming and a good guy down to his core. I love how cheesy his one-liners are, and his delivery is just so perfect, it fits him brilliantly. I know the remake toned down the overall cheesiness, but I still think they did a good job with Leon for the remake. Also, Leon has the best moments in the whole game with him doing the most unnecessary backflip in gaming history, next to Miles Morales, of course. Ashley is also a great supporting character who shows great development throughout the story. Seeing her and Leon's relationship grow and them developing a true bond was so sweet and it served to make me more invested in their characters. One of my favorite moments in the whole game is a simple scene of Ashley having a panic attack and Leon talks her through it, referencing his own trauma and how he's overcome it. This moment actually made me wish I played the second game first, and while I watched a good amount of the walkthroughs on it, I'm sure if I played for it myself, this moment would have hit even harder. Luis is also great, but he's not in the story too much, but I do enjoy his and Leon interactions with each other whenever they're together. They're just great. I don't have much to say about Ada since I haven't played the second game, but just from playing this game, she's a decent character who serves as a good companion for Leon when he's in a sticky situation. It is clear how much she's changed as a person though. It seems like she's like a straight to business mercenary, but in the end, she makes the right choice not to give the Amber up, solidifying that she has changed, most likely due to Leon's influence. I honestly don't have much to say about the villains, however. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Sadler or Salazar, but they only serve to be obstacles for Leon to overcome. With the exception of Krauser. I think he was the best antagonist in the game as he actually has a personal connection to Leon. You can see how Krauser was probably similar to him when he was younger, but just continued to be broken down by the same system they worked for. Krauser is a cautionary tale for Leon, the outcome of not properly valuing the right things in life. My only complaint is that I wish Krauser was actually a little more fleshed out, but overall, he was a fantastic villain. You know, I had a blast with the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's been a while since I played a game that was just fun. It doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything, but it doesn't try to. It's just a game that does everything it can to be fun and enjoyable from beginning to end. I'm excited to dive into more games in this franchise and try not to be too much of a chicken, so stay tuned to see what I play next. Thanks for watching.